All right, people, peace and blessings. So, just so y'all know, I am going to be sharing some videos today under the Fair Use Act. Um, and I just want to be clear on that. So, I found this brother, y'all. So, let me just back up. First of all, happy Sunday. Um, and it's good to be here with y'all for a little bit before I head to this garden festival. Um, and I watch a lot of content creators, particularly on YouTube, because I spend a lot of time on YouTube. Um, and I've been finding a lot of awesome black men. Like the last video I did, I talked about three black men that I listen to a lot, and they just have the voice of reason. Another thing I notice about these black men is they make a lot of sense when they talk, and they're able to present to you the facts and without any biases. You know what I mean? They kind of for the most is to look for. I mean, they come up with the information and then they give you both sides for the most part. One guy you can clearly tell is a Republican, but the other dude he presents the facts, and I really like that about him. Like just, I really like that about him. So I like listening to these content creators. It's been the shock is that they've been men, and to me that's kind of awesome to hear black men just kind of talk about the truth, right? So I'm gonna get started with this dude. I discovered him this morning, and I'm gonna be breaking and stopping so I could talk a little bit about what he's saying and like how I'm just really loving what he's saying. So let's get into it. Here we go. Let me hit the play button on this.
Like that, especially in the capital of the United States. And we have a president that wants to put a stop to it. And who's the resistance? The Democrats. They're resisting it. Tooth and nail, they're fighting the federal government from doing anything about the crime problem, even though children are getting killed and shot. Young boys are killing each other, carjacking. Stores are closing because of shoplifting, because of robberies and crimes and looting. And when you go to a store in any of these black communities, you have to ask someone to get you, a lot of the things that you want to buy because it's behind plexiglass and lock and key. And it's as if our representatives don't see this. They don't think anything is wrong. Right in the DC, Baltimore area, they did a study a few years back that they went to 23 schools and they couldn't find a kid that could read, that could do math on their level, on their grade level.
Math is a critical subject for kids to learn in school, but test scores in Maryland are revealing a devastating reality that students just aren't getting it. The Maryland State Department of Education released the 2022 state test results and found just 7% of 3rd through 8th graders are proficient in math. That means 93% of kids are not where they should be in the subject. Even more troublesome for the state, in its greatest metropolitan area, 23 Baltimore schools had 0 students meet the standard. 2,000 students took the math test, and not one could do math at grade level.
But these are the very cities that want to import people from all over the world and use resources to educate and house and feed people from all over the world. And they haven't even taken care of their constituents, the people that are American citizens that elected them. They just neglect them. And if
All right, family. Let me stop. Let me pause right there because this brother is saying a lot, and I feel like we should be looking at what he's saying. And here's the thing: when you gaslight people, they will kind of go along with all your stuff. That's why it is dangerous to be following a party or agreeing with the party to hate someone because you don't like them and not look at the work that they're doing. Let me say that again. It is dangerous to push sheer hate about a person because you don't like them than to see what is the work that they're doing. That's why I like what this brother had to say. He's saying it's so clear. This is one of those content creators that I follow. He is on the stoop. So this brother sits on the stoop and he gives us information and kind of talks about the things that's happening. And I'm telling Black folks in particular, y'all better think about people thinking they know your struggle. You better think about people who only see you as the underclass. You better think about people who only think you deserve to be in public housing. You better think about the people who think you can never move up unless you agree with them. Because he basically said they'll bring a whole bunch of people in here and invest in them, but won't invest in the people who they owe the investment to, who they have built whole systems around to keep us from having our own stuff. Or when we try to have our own Black towns, they destroyed them, basically. Look up the Red Summer of 1919. I don't know. Let's keep hearing what the brother got to say.
If any help is offered from the federal government, they reject it and they fight against it, and they spend money filing lawsuits to prevent any type of federal intervention. I saw a report about the DC situation when the president first started talking about taking it over, and they were saying that last year 29 boys, Black boys, teenagers, consider them children, got murdered. And then this year they said 17 had got murdered. So they were feeling like, hey, we don't need the federal government. Look, we're doing better. As if 17 young children, young boys, is doing better. Like, you don't need any help, and people are dying. People are getting killed on a regular and getting carjacked and being traumatized. And
there's been a great deal of discussion about crime in the district. And the other day, I wanted to get a sense of what is actually happening in the District of Columbia. I asked for the number of teens who have been shot and killed by gunfire. Teens, everyone under the age of 20. As you can see, in 2024, we have, I believe I said it was, how many? Yeah. As you can see, in 2024, we have 29 individuals who were shot and killed in the district, all teens, some as young as 3 years of age, okay, because of gunfire. Some of these cases are solved, some of them are not solved. But what this makes clear to me is that there is a whole community that is suffering because of the violent crime in this district. And anyone who wants to tell me the crime is down and that we don't need an emergency focus on crimes of violence, all they need to do is take a look at this and talk to the loved ones and the family members of these individuals, all shot and killed long before their time. Now, over here are the individuals who were shot and killed under the age of 20, all teenagers, in 2025. And the number here is 16. Again, all members of the minority community here. I don't know how many of these cases have been solved, but what I can tell you is, again, it's guns on the streets. It's individuals who are not concerned about accountability, who don't have any reason to fear law enforcement. I am here today to tell you that on behalf of all of these victims, all of these families, that they're going to be accountable, that we are going to make a difference, and that we are going to make sure that law enforcement is focused on these innocent, now silent victims of crime in the district.
Now, family, who could be against something like this? Who could be against something like this? Who? So what I do know That was a lot of black people right there murdered, a lot of young black people murdered. And I'm willing to bet you at the hands of other black people. And this is what people don't want to touch. In a black city, with a black mayor, and probably black city council members for all we know. And I'm saying maybe they're not good self-governance. Maybe they don't, because they don't really care about black life. You know, they don't really care. And that's 17 people killed. That's DC. I'm not even talking about the rest of the cities across the United States. Why aren't the Democrats upset about that? Why they don't put things into place to protect people where they live? People who would say things aren't violent, they don't even live there. People deserve to be protected and have safety in their community, just like the communities other people live in. You know, just like in other communities. And for the life of me, I don't really understand how we see stuff like that and don't feel some kind of way about it. I just don't. And for me, I'll be very honest, I get really sick of hearing black people talk about, you know, it's racism. No, it's not. It's the way every human being has something called free will. We all have it. And so what I don't understand for the life of me is that if you got free will, then why do you take your free will and kill other people with it? I don't want to hear the argument that people are struggling because there was a time in this country where black people were very poor, but we didn't kill each other up. We didn't do shit like that. So you can't blame it on poverty. You can't blame it on, well, what if they don't know? Well, I guess they're gonna know. So I just feel like just some of the excuses that I hear us using because we don't want to be accountable, but then we'll sit up there and be mad at the president because he's the president. Somebody gonna tell you that the man is racist, and every president we had was racist, including the black one. So miss me with the racism comment. I mean, we had one president that was single-handedly responsible for that crime bill that locked up a lot of black men in the 90s, which is why half the women didn't really get a chance to get husbands in a certain generation in the black community. I mean, I don't get it. That's why I love this dude on the stoop, his podcast and his show, because at least listen how he's talking. Maybe some of us don't know no older black men that can sit down and break some shit down. That's why I'm sharing this through the Fair Use Act. I just feel like we got to hear what these brothers are saying. We got to hear the voice of reason, not emotional black folks who are shields and, you know, they want to see the Democrats survive because they get a lot of money and it's just them and they don't really care what's happening to black people, especially those of us who live in certain communities, or if we don't belong to this club or that club. It's almost like you need protection from the Democrats to me. But let's go on and hear what this brother has to say.
Heartbreaking stories out of the district this Tuesday morning. 2 young children caught in the crossfire of gun violence. A 1-year-old baby shot last night in the arm in Southeast. It comes as the city prepares to lay another child killed by a stray bullet to rest. Jess Arnold is live outside of MPD headquarters this morning with more on these heart-wrenching stories. They're tragedies, really, Jess. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I mean, I hate having to report on this, but police do say that 1-year-old girl was shot in the arm and thankfully is expected to survive. Now, at last check, police said that they were still looking for a dark-colored Jeep Grand Cherokee with no front tags.
The community also wants justice for 3-year-old Honesty Cheadle. She was shot and killed in her family's car as they returned from July 4th cookouts. Her alleged shooter is currently behind bars, and today is her funeral. The service is scheduled for 11 a.m. at Bethesda Baptist Church. There will also be a viewing beforehand at 10 a.m.
Now, we are already halfway through the year now, and dozens of kids and teenagers have been shot. DC police shared this data with us for victims who are younger than 18 years old. Now, so far, this does not include July numbers, but we have seen 44 kids and teenagers shot, with 7 of them killed. Of course, these 2 shootings that we're talking about this morning happened in July, so unfortunately, that number has continued to rise. From MPD headquarters, Jess Arnold, WUSA 9.
And then you also have, in these cities, you have it's sort of like a concerted effort not to do anything for the people that are actually constituents of these cities. You have the local politician, you have the city council members, you have the mayors, as well as the district attorneys that have no problem with crime. They have no problem with looting. They have no problem with stores closing because of shoplifting. They have no problem with test scores being majorly low. You know, you got schools in these areas that have a graduation rate of like 60%, but yet they want to import people from other countries and educate them and give them resources as if, you know, they're the priority. You have a housing shortage in a lot of these communities. And instead of using the available funds to take care of that issue and help people find housing, they'd rather spend it on people that aren't even citizens of this country. Same thing in Chicago, same thing in DC, same thing in California, same thing here in New York. What is going on with the Democratic Party? Why are they tone deaf? Why don't they see what's happening in their own community? Or do they see it and they just don't care? You know, it must be some larger orchestrated plan that makes this possible to be like the status quo in Black communities now.
Absolutely, my brother. There is a larger plan at work. They want to replace Black people, especially those who are descendants of people who are enslaved, especially foundational Black Americans. They absolutely want to replace us because they never intended on evening up the score. They never intended on giving us reparations. It's like us being here reminds them of what they've done and what they continue to do. And then they also have co-conspirators, which while we're looking at this is all happening where there are a lot of Black mayors who will give nothing to Black people but help everybody who comes through the door that's not Black. This is a problem. And some of us seen this coming. So if you work in the community, if you work in government or whatever, you could totally see this was coming down the pipe. You could totally see it was coming. And that's why you can't have policies that for people of color, because that erases Black people. And I've been saying that. You know, these things are owed to Black people, those who are descendants of American slavery, those who are foundational Black Americans. We are the only group who has not had the immigrant experience. And so immigrants should not be getting benefits and things that were due to Black people, because nothing is due to them. They just got here. They just got here. Something is owed to the group who built the country, who could never be a part of this American dream, who could never use the benefits. And then we're in communities that are unsafe, and they want to keep us there, which is why they're always talking about affordable housing. They never talk about home ownership. They want us to compete in an area where people come to this country, they bring their families, they live 20 to a house, and here you have the 40% of the homeless, at least in my city, are Black women with children, which means they don't make enough money to even pay rent, let alone buying a house. But if they were able to buy the house that they would have been renting, then they could have something called equity, and they could pull that money. But no one's really intending on making Black people have power. It's like we stole you, we purchased you, we erased your identity, and now we're going to erase you. To me, it's that simple. To Londa, you know, it's that simple. And I feel kind of sad because it's a trip, because it's other Black people who are going to make that happen for them. And that's why I say the world we know may never be the same, because I do think there's some shifts coming. I think that's Donald Trump. I think a lot of the things that he's doing should have been done. We should have been closed those borders. We should have not been using our resources for people who just got here to have Social Security and for them to get the $1,500 in food stamps, and making sure that they have places to stay, and, you know, giving them reparations, Ms. Karen Bass, to these people who just got here, who had the audacity to say taking jobs from immigrants and giving them to Americans destabilizes our economy. Excuse me? Are you serious? But that's when that's what happened when you think all your skin folks is your kin folks. Black people should be asking for things directly for them. They should not be considering other groups. People will get mad at me for saying that, but that's the truth. I think we got to let that part of our slave experience go. You don't have to care what's happening to the next person. Keep your eyes on yourself and your family and your immediate community. Because those other groups do not look out for Black folks. Let's just be honest. That's why that term of color is dangerous. I don't use it. I say Black. And since I don't speak no other language but English, people automatically know what I'm saying. I see other groups start breaking into their language when they don't want you to know what they're saying. But anyway, let's hear what this brother got to say. Continue on, brother. I'm using this in the Fair Use Act.
Like, the Black politicians are not standing up for us. If you look at the Black politicians on the national level, none of them are saying we can't accept people from other countries in our communities because we haven't taken care of our own community yet. And it has a direct impact on the people that I represent. Nobody's saying that. They're saying just the opposite, and they're willing to fight, yell, and scream and curse any type of federal intervention. Now, think about this. We have a full-blown military in this country. We have the biggest military in the world. They just passed a budget a few months ago that gave $1 trillion to the military. And you would think that it would be wanted to use that military to patrol our borders and, if necessary, assist local governments and police departments to curtail crime in our country. But who's against it? The Democrats. They're totally against it. They are willing to fight, yell, and scream and sue and, tie everything up in court to keep this from happening. Why is that the case? Why are these people doing this? Why aren't they welcoming the National Guard in DC? Why aren't they welcoming the FBI and the DEA in Washington, DC? Because they know they have a drug problem. They know they have a crime problem. You would think that they would say, hey, yeah, bring it on. Let's get this problem under control. But they're not. They're fighting against it. Every state has a National Guard. If you know people that are in the National Guard, they go away like every month to train. They train their whole lives. And when you talk about deploying the National Guard in a state or in a city that is in crisis, the Democrats are adamant against it. The people that are the National Guard are people that are from your state. That they are people that live in these communities. And usually they're poor people that are trying to get ahead. So they become members of the National Guard so they can make some extra money and get some extra benefits. And they live in these communities where all hell is breaking loose. And you don't think that they want to use what they know to try to make their conditions better where they live so their people can see them actually making the place better? But the Democrats are totally against it. Totally against it. They're fighting against it. Somebody explain this to me. Why is this even happening? What is the purpose of this? Why are the Democrats opposed to cleaning up this country? Why are they opposed to having the federal laws be enforced? The federal laws that Congress has passed and that past presidents have signed into law. They are adamantly boycotting and protesting the implementation of these laws. What is the benefit to them? I have some ideas, but I want to hear from you. What do you think is the problem? Why do you think this is the case? When I ICE went into MacArthur Park in California. The mayor, a black woman, is out there totally yelling and screaming, telling them to leave. I want you out. You have to get out of here.
Among those arriving on the scene was LA Mayor Karen Bass, flanked by security and in a crush of people pushing for the operation to end. Our camera caught her on the phone, pleading with officials to stop.
You're getting ready to leave? Okay, please, can you leave ASAP? My comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now.
As if MacArthur Park is some Disneyland. You know, you have open air drug markets going on, you have murders going on, you have gangs congregating there, and she's saying, no, don't bring anybody here. Don't help us solve this problem.
Now, one of the things the brother did say is why do we think this is happening? Why don't Karen Bass want to help clean up LA? Well, hell, in LA, they done chased damn near most of the black people out. So they love to use us as the face. They love to use black looking people as the face. They talk about the DEI. We make up less than 3% of that, but they'll use us as the face. Well, you won't be able to get this. We ain't getting the shit now. We're not even getting it now. So don't act like this has something to do with black people, because it does not. See, they didn't tell you in LA that people have made pacts and agreement not to rent to black people, not to hire black people. See, Karen Bass ain't addressed that. She ain't addressed black people being called monkeys by the Latino leaders. And they're wanting to redraw districts to give black people less power, at least a few of us that are left there. So we know what this is about. The question is black people going to get up and fight for what's theirs? And no, you can't share it, because most people don't want to share with black people. So these are the things you got to really ask yourself. I'm enjoying what this brother is saying, because he's laying out, he came with his receipts. We got to get rid of these black politicians. They got to go away. They're not good at being politicians. They don't help black people. So I feel like you better take your chances with the most qualified person. And I don't mean qualified like I went to school. Not that bullshit. People who are honest and have integrity, and who will give black people, we have a right to say what's in it for us, because every group does that. But black people are taught not to do that. You cannot make this shit up. You really can't. Let's hear what this brother got to say.
Let's just let it fester. And she's willing to go out in the street to prevent this from happening. What's wrong with these people? Is it some sort of woke mind virus or something? Somebody tell me, because it doesn't make sense. These are the people that we elect to represent us, and they're doing everything but represent us. They're passing laws to just absolve people who commit crimes. We have to raise the threshold of the amount that people can steal before we can actually do something. You have police arresting people, and the people get out of jail before the police even do the paperwork for like serious crimes. You have people that are here illegally that are killing people, that are robbing people on a regular. Right here in New York City, a Border Patrol agent got shot in the face, almost lost his life at the hands of an illegal immigrant that had been arrested like 4 times, and had not been put behind bars or deported, and that has been literally protected by this sanctuary city. And this plays out over and over again around the country in democratic controlled cities and states. What is the reason for this? Why is this happening? This is insane. Really, it's insane. So I would like to hear what you think in the comments. Let me know. Am I the only one seeing this? Am I the only one seeing this? Why would a representative of a low-income community, excuse me, there's bugs flying around, one got in my eye. Why would a representative of a low-income community want to have an influx of people that are in their community illegally that need resources, that need housing, need food, and need education. When the children in your community that are children of your constituents can't read or can't do math or can't graduate and have to be given some sort of social promotion thing so they can just get them out of school, and then when they get out they can't even balance a checkbook.
So these are real serious questions that the brother's asking us. I would hope that we would think about it. And let me just say this to Black folks. Take the emotion stuff out of it. Because people love to gaslight Black people, and then we can't even look at the facts. We cannot look at the facts for what it is. And so he's asking some really good questions. You know, why are we put money into English as a second language, and the people who live here, you know, can barely speak English themselves? Why we haven't invested in them? That's because they don't see you as the future. They have to get rid of you. They don't want you here anymore. So they're not going to invest in anything that's going to improve your life, your community life. They don't want you to be here any longer. And they rather import a whole other group of people in here than to deal with your Black butt. Because I believe every time they look at you, they're a reminder of the stuff that they did and continue to do to your community. That's why. So I understand this, brother, and I'm really liking On the Stoop, along with a couple of other Black content creators that do news and politics, because they talk and they make you think. Because some of this stuff you know is happening, but we've been so brainwashed to act like, well, we got to love everybody and not look out for your own self. Go ahead, brother.
You know, what is the reason for that? Why is that a thing? Why is that prevalent in the Democratic Party's representation, and especially in Black communities? Why do we elect Black representatives that are more interested in serving the illegal immigrant community than they are interested in serving the Black community which elected them? Explain that to me. Why is that? And I know that's what I'm seeing. That's exactly what I'm seeing. The mayor here, Eric Adams, said he spent $7.5 billion in like the last 3 years on illegal immigrants. Even though there's schools around here that aren't fully funded, that are overcrowded, run down, old schools from like the 70s when I was going to school. You know, these schools look the same. And kids are doing worse now than when I was in school. And instead of saying, no, I got to spend the money taking care of these kids and my constituents, I can't do this. No, he's going to court to fight the federal government so he can. Same thing in Chicago. You got a Black mayor there, and he has a $1 billion deficit in the budget in the city because he's been taking care of people from other countries. He feels that that's his job. Where in a place where you hear about shootings every weekend, this weekend you're going to hear about dozens of people getting shot in Chicago. It just happens every weekend. People just go out to have a drink or go to a party and people get killed, mass shootings. But no, we got to spend money on people that are not even citizens, that can't even vote. You know, it's like the word came down on high. Whoever's financing the Democratic Party said, this is what I want. And if you don't toe the line, then we're just going to not fund you and we're going to get somebody else to take your job. So you better just let the criminals run wild. Don't worry about your people. Take care of people that aren't citizens. And don't worry about the education of your kids. That's not a priority. I want you to pass laws to allow criminals to just be repeat offenders and just be in these communities and just.
So listen, y'all. Brother making a lot of sense. Please check him out. He is on the Stoop. I've enjoyed his information. I enjoyed his knowledge. I enjoyed him just, I feel like I'm talking to people that's from the tribe that I'm from, that common sense tribe, and not scared. And so I thank him for speaking truth to power. Y'all do know Democrats is a problem. Black elected officials, they're problems. And Black folks, we have a lot of enemies, but we have a lot of enemies in the house. And so y'all got to speak up and say something, like this brother's doing, like the other brothers are doing and sisters with their podcast. So I wanted to come share this brother with y'all on the stoop. Subscribe to this brother. Great information. And I want y'all to have a blessed, blessed, blessed Sunday.